What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Underground Stars Season 3. Today, I'm here with...
215 Guy Beats, a.k.a. Streets, a.k.a. you already know this. Producer and host, of course, of Producer's other new favorite podcast. Let me rap with you because this is my favorite podcast outside of me being a podcaster. So
Appreciate it.
I gotta have both in the cut. Shout out to Underground Stars.
That's crazy. I mean, this past just year, I've seen so many different kind of upcoming podcasts come up. I know it was yours. We had Josh's, the Sound Booth. We have Andrew. I'm blanking on the name, but he does
Producer Cast.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say I'll be tuned in to Producer Cast. Definitely one of my favorites.
Crazy. I mean, I guess it was just the perfect time to start something like this up.
The one thing that I like is that everybody still has a different edge to each podcast, though. Everything isn't like Andrew's isn't the same as yours isn't the same as mine isn't the same as Josh and Lombard's. I appreciate everybody still has a distinctiveness with each podcast, and everybody still has their own style. So that I appreciate too.
Yeah, it's nice. It's cool seeing everybody put their own spin on it and just seeing like what they do different, what they do the same, and just kind of see how they grow all together.
To be honest, I'm gonna say it like this. I feel like because of the era that we're in, not even just because of COVID, but information is becoming. It's not just Google anymore. It's not just Google anymore. Like I'm gonna be honest with you. When we talk about people resourcing themselves and all that, now Google is a good way to use ads and stuff and to market yourself and get yourself out there. But on a regular terminology, when it comes to definitely the producer community, producer to artist, or even creative to creative in general, we are more so resourcing ourselves through social media networking, podcasting, and so forth, much more directly to each other, more so than just searching up each other now. So that's what I noticed, like the difference in, like, it's not just Google no more. You gotta sometimes just go directly to a source.
Yeah. And I mean, there's also sometimes there's certain things that you want to know that you just can't really put on Google. Like, people figure stuff out through that experience that they have and through like whatever they do, that there's not really a way that you can throw it on Google for other people to look at. It's more has to be delivered through like either word of mouth, or if you're in the same room together, by just showing it to them just straight up.
Yeah, because the truth behind that is that, and of course I appreciate Google for the platform it is, but the people who created it, they didn't live the lives of all the people that you've interviewed, the people that I've interviewed, the people that Josh and them have interviewed. So research is one thing, but it's always going to be distinctive and exclusive experiences. And that's the one thing that's why I said that's why every podcast will always be different, because we all have different guests, and with each guest everybody has an exclusive experience that more so maybe 98 to 99% of the world possibly didn't experience exactly. Maybe in a similarity, but not exactly as the person that you've interviewed. So, that's the one thing that Google can definitely bring content when it comes to research, but experience itself has to be told from the person of the interviewer and the interviewee.
Yeah,
that's how I also look at it.
I mean, kind of just going off that, because you started Let Me Rap With You. What was kind of like your whole idea going into just creating it, doing it, and everything up to now?
Oh, it is so crazy. I literally just got done telling my friend this story. If anybody, I'm known for a lot of things, not just beats, not just podcasting, but before I started really putting out content like that, I was always known for my Twitter rants. Like, trust me, that's self-said Twitter rants, dropping facts and all that. It was to a point to where it's like I felt like it wasn't really going anywhere. And then at a certain point, I guess I kind of came to the conclusion that if I keep going down this road like this, I'm more so going to ruin my brand in the long run.
Yeah.
unfortunately. And I did want to get my point out, but it was like how am I going to do it? And then like I'm going to say since 2017, my this is like my crew, like my little family, like not really
Mhm.
for soul music, but like the retro gang, they was telling me like, yo, you need to start a podcast. You need to start a podcast. Then people on Twitter started telling me, yo, you need to start a podcast. You need to start a podcast. And I just shrugged it a lot. And,
Mhm.
you know, I call it the bullshit shrug. People tell us stuff, we say, all right, and then we just shrug it. So,
Yeah.
like, it came to a certain point where I finally came to the point where it's like, okay, now I'm at a point where I actually do want to do this because I found out later on, like within my roots, that podcasting, covering media, and covering interviews, and those Twitter rants were a part of it.
Mhm.
I realized that that was actually really my true path because I actually did my first interview with the Funk Collective Always Proper back in 2014 just on my blog when I was in
Mhm.
college. But, you know, that was the only interview I ever did, and I stopped blogging later on. And during my transitions, rapping, producing, engineering, which producing and engineering is still what I do outside of my podcast, and that's what I always do outside of podcasting. But within that transition, what I come to realize, and I was really talking to my friend about it, like I said a couple of days ago, when I wasn't doing music and I was with my roommate, we was always just smoking weed and we was watching either live stream games, we was watching gamer live streams,
Mhm.
or producer grind or any there was only a few podcasts out at the time, producer
Mhm.
grind mainly being of course the main producer source of and still to this day one of the top main producer sources when it comes to podcasts. You know, shout out to Dylan. You know, they were one of the only few that were around, so I was just analyzing, watching all these people. I've
Mhm.
been analyzing Double XL, Source Magazine, Rolling Stone interviews. I've been into all this stuff literally since as a kid, and I didn't realize that it was a hidden talent in the back. And now, when I started the podcast, I'm gonna keep it honest with you. I didn't think it was gonna be the way it is now. Because I'm gonna
Mhm.
say it like this: I originally planned to just do it with me, just doing solo segments. Because I didn't know I had some friends, but like you know, we were still talking about it. And during the time I was trying to start the
Mhm.
podcast, I'm like, look, I'm not gonna hold this information, and then I can't remember who the producer was. I wish I can really give them their credit, but a producer had complained on Twitter one day about, oh, I would never pay for collabs, like this happened, such and such. He basically gave an experience, and I guess it was a bad experience.
Mhm.
And I subtweeted and I said, now look, bro, I'm about to start my podcast this week, and paid collabs is actually the first topic that I'm going to be discussing. So you know, I'll definitely make sure you listen to it, and you know that you'll get another perspective of it. Because I am a person who has had good experiences of paid collabs, of course, but
Mhm.
this was the twist that nobody, not even me, expected. I was still trying to find people to get for guests, and Poppy himself, and during his time he was with Digital Dior.
Mhm.
Poppy himself replied to the tweet, and he said, "Bro, you definitely have to let me be a guest on that episode." And then it's like it's like God just dropped the blessing right there. And I
Yeah.
was, to be honest, I ain't even gonna lie. I didn't reply for like the first hour because truth be told, I was honestly speechless. I was
Yeah.
speechless. I didn't even reply for like the first hour. I was truthfully speechless. I didn't even know what to say because I'm sitting here like, damn, I'm about to start this, and I just literally got Poppy to
Mhm.
be the very first guest on my podcast. And from there, 3 days, as soon as we dropped, we did like, and it was only an audio. Like, I think the first 2 or 3 episodes were audio only. And the
Yeah.
Poppy episode did 100 views within three
Dang.
days. Within 3 days,
Yeah.
I was, and then like people started really hitting my DMs, and started really giving their response, and from there on out, I just kept it going. Then it went to Bluff Guide. Then a couple more friends found out about it. I had a few more friends. Then
Mhm.
what, and then what really started getting it like a certain wave was that, luckily, thanks to connections, I was able to get YK from 808 Mafia on the fourth episode of my
Mhm.
podcast. Luckily, thanks to me being his beat critiques and all that, that paid off. We had a good relationship. He always, gave me great advice on improvements.
Mhm.
So it came to the point where I was just blessed to where YK had an hour one day, and I was able to interview him. That wound up becoming a great interview. The Trapped Out Danny episode from the first season, that was one of the most surprising but favorite interviews coming from most people, because Trapped Out Danny, and this is one thing that I want to say about my podcast, and one thing I actually have to say about your podcast and why I
Mhm.
appreciate both of them. Trapped Out Danny asked me literally the day before we did the interview. He said, "Bro, why did you choose to interview me? I don't
Mhm.
have any placements. I'm still getting a brand together." But I said, "Bro, everybody still has a story. Everybody still has a perspective. Everybody still has an opinion when it
Yeah.
comes to producer politics, no matter what it is. Like, you on Twitter, it's naturally known that we all put out our opinions. So
Mhm.
placement or no placement, I feel like everybody has a story. Everybody has something to speak on."
Yeah.
And when I told him that, not only did that was actually my longest podcast interview. That was 2 hours. Surprisingly, I was shocked. Like, 2 hours, wow. But
Mhm.
that was one of the greatest responded interviews, especially because it started shaking up the factor again about engineers not getting credit
Mhm.
for, like getting splits or getting royalties. That definitely, shook up a couple of people. And recently, I've talked to more engineers about it. But as it led on, everything else just literally came naturally.
Yeah.
And luckily, thanks to my one thing I'll tell people, and I want to give this advice to everybody: it doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter if you transition into something. I don't care if you go from a producer to a rapper, rapper to a producer, videographer to whatever. It doesn't matter what you do. Do not cut off your ties, because with season 2 and the current audios of season 3, a lot of people were very, very shocked about how I got some of those podcast interviews.
Mhm.
And some of those ties were luckily thanks to me not, like, just because I stopped rapping, I didn't cut off the people
Yeah.
who I worked with. For example, and I have the audio out right now. I did an interview with not SoundCloud, SoundClick pioneer Larkin Beats, who, when we were trying to figure out this whole producing thing, we were still
Mhm.
trying to figure it out. This is before BeatStars, before my Flash Store, before Airbit, all that. Larkin, amongst Taz Taylor, the beginning of Internet Money, Vibes, Johnny Giuliano, Nagra, and these are, like, these are some of the pioneer internet legends that we're speaking on. Larkin,
Mhm.
of course, was amongst them as well. And, like I said, like, a lot of people can't even get the Larkin. Not even the people who are in a higher status above me.
Mhm.
They can't even get the Larkin. So people were just trying to figure it all out. And I said, just having good ties and not letting things go. And that's honestly how I can say everything has came for the podcast, because even with the newcomers and the new networking, I
Mhm.
can really say that my past really got me the great interviews. And I'm going to say, and I guess we can really give our opinion on this because we both interviewed him. I'm going to say this is what really gave me the real purpose of really trying to be here for the culture.
Mhm.
And I am going to say that is the Going to November episode that I had with
Mhm.
him prior to him going to y'all that same week. Because I think, if I remember, he did my interview like in the beginning of the week, and then, like, he came to y'all at the end of the week. So it was definitely great timing for that. But when I had that interview with him, it was a lot of nerve shaking topics, and it made me realize that, I mean, if if the money is good, then cool.
Mhm.
But now it's like my purpose is much higher than just having a podcast. My purpose is to cover the community as much as I can in any way I can.
Mhm.
Whether it's doing a podcast interview, whether it's live streaming, and that's what I have the Donnie Nola's Funky Town. That's my alter ego, and I basically I had that to basically help the funk community
Mhm.
because 215 God Beats is into a lot of things, but when it comes to the funk community, I feel like when I'm in my lonely by myself, like how I am now, that's when Donnie Nola is who he is. So a
Yeah.
lot of people started seeing that too, and it was just so crazy. I was able to just come up with an alter ego just for my show
Mhm.
because I definitely wanted to continue putting on the funk community because even with trap and all the beats that I've done, the funk community and lo-fi has always been with me, and that's kind of what gave me the. And I would actually give this gem to you too, bro. Like as a podcast, like, and especially your name being Underground Stars, I will definitely say this. And one thing I've learned being a podcaster just within 3 seasons, the kind of people that we cover, it's more than just artists,
Mhm.
more than just producers. There's so many great people that are behind the scenes, whether it's engineers, videographers, graphic designers. We can go down the whole list, but one thing I've learned as a podcaster is that the culture that we cover is deeper than what we think it is the more we get into it. And
Mhm.
going into, and this is exclusive information that I'm going to give, going into season 4 that will be coming in the summertime, the podcast, we are planning to break barriers, as in, not just doing artists, not just doing producers, but videographers.
Mhm.
And actually, there's this guy named Dre Mathis, in the funk community. He is basically the creator of YouTube funk dancing.
Yeah.
He's basically the creator of YouTube funk dancing. I had the opportunity to have an interview with him and his cameraman Oak Wolf TV, and interviews like that. It's not really just to show off or to really show people like we're going on another level, but also to show other podcasters. See, I want to be more so of an influencer, not a competitor. When
Mhm.
it comes to anything I do as a producer, as a podcaster, no matter what I do, I am more so trying to pass influence, not competition. And
Mhm.
that's one thing I definitely want to set the difference of right now because I want to show other podcasters, other people in the world that there is a whole world right there to cover. Especially like I said, you guys are underground stars,
Mhm.
and I'm not even gonna lie. Like as I've said on the podcast Twitter, you guys have gotten some gems that we haven't, even had our hands on. Especially, Andrew Kelly. That was like I'm not even gonna lie. Like to be honest, when I talked to Andrew when he was looking for a podcast, I told him, bro, you gotta go to Underground Stars.
Mhm.
You have to
Appreciate
go
it.
to. Yeah, I told him like, bro, like I would love to have you on my podcast, but no, Underground Stars. I feel like you are on the come up. You need to like. That's why I said y'all put that like y'all solidify the underground with that name right there.
Mhm.
Cause let me rap with you, and it's actually so funny. Like people tell me all the time, you say it's producer's new favorite podcast. Why do you call it Let Me Rap with You? And the story is just so funny because like I'm located in Philadelphia, PA, of course,
Mhm.
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, That's my current location. And of course, every city in the world, no matter what country, no matter what city or whatever region, everybody has their own lingo. That's what I truly
Mhm.
believe. So right after I had that whole deal with you know, it's funny. Right after the tweet with Poppy, I didn't even have the name yet. That's actually the fun. That's it's
Jeez,
crazy.
yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. We talked about everything, and the whole funny factor of all this is that when Poppy chose to be a guest on the first episode, I didn't even have the name. I like, and that's the one thing. That's why I froze because I don't even have a name for the podcast. I'm
Yeah.
about to. So funny story, and look, I'm sitting. Look, it's crazy. It's crazy. I had to blunt down for half the story, but it's so funny. But I was getting off of work. I was rolling my first blunt for the day. Like getting off work. Now
Mhm.
I was with my plug, and I was sitting there like debating with him. I said, man, OG, I don't even know what to call this damn podcast. He said, man, you want to come up with it, man? Look, you got this, man. Like if it's one thing you always get, you figure that shit out.
Mhm.
So the funny part, in the next moment of the heat, I seen somebody that I was trying to see all day, and I literally yelled out the door. I said, "Yo, oh yeah, let me rap with you," because like that's something that we like some of us say in the city,
Mhm.
like yo, let me rap with you real quick. Like that's actually that's something that like I'm not the only one who actually says that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's really a slang that has been used in my city a lot. Like yo, let me rap with you real quick.
Mhm.
So when I said it to my old head, click right there. I'm like, that's it.
Mhm.
My brother's like, what? Let me rap with you. He's like,
That's
oh
crazy.
shit. And we
That's
just said,
crazy.
I just said, I said, that's it. I'm gonna call it. Let me rap with you because I thought of it as an oxymoron.
Mhm.
A producer running producer's new favorite podcast, but it's called Let Me Rap with You. The oxymoron behind it. I
Mhm.
said, I'm going with it, and look how that dice rolled.
It's crazy. It's crazy how just everything kind of just falls into place whenever you need it to.
I'm gonna tell every creative. I'm gonna tell every creative one secret. The secret to some of your best work is when you don't think. Hear me out, people. Sometimes you just gotta shut the brain off. Just shut it off.
Mhm.
I guarantee you some crazy ass ideas will blow your damn mind. My brain was shut off when I decided to do the podcast. I said, you know what? I'm tired of talking shit. I'm doing this podcast.
Mhm.
And luckily, in the times that we're in, thanks to the stimulus, I took 700 out of it and brought a 4K not a webcam, a 4K camcorder after the third episode.
Dang. All in.
And a lot of people in my city tell me like people don't do podcasts the way that I do it. And I'm gonna be honest, like I'd watch a lot of podcasts, so like truth be told, if I wanted to politic, I would somewhat disagree.
Mhm.
It's just that I do it in and outside the podcast. This is who I am. In and outside of the interviews, this is who I am. I'm just a stoner music loving podcast.
Yeah.
Like it's as simple as that. Like I tell people like I keep it plain and simple. So I basically put on camera like everything right front and center.
There's
Like
no barrier.
nope, no barrier at all. Like
Mhm.
people see me, they be like you be smoking all the weed on there and all that. And actually, the funny thing is, all that led to me getting a collaboration endorsement with the Fire Life. Thank God for that because like all I roll is Fire Life grab reliefs and I
Mhm.
took a chance. I emailed them and they responded, and now we got things coming. Everything is just building. So, and thank God for no rivals. If it wasn't for them sponsoring the podcast, I wouldn't even have merch. it's just so much. My Discord, if it wasn't for my guy Gosake, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have my Discord the way it is. It's That's why like people be confused because like I'll be the only one on the podcast, but when I say operations, there's really more than just me.
Yeah.
I'm just the frontline face,
Mhm.
but it's a lot more than just me running this podcast.
Mhm.
And I'm thankful to have a management that helped me too, because my management, once he started seeing what I was doing, he started helping me book interviews too. So, like I said, everything just really worked full circle. But I still have to thank my roots of production, everybody who I've collabed with, all the people I done worked with. Since I'm gonna say this is 2021, I'm gonna say that my run really. I've been doing music. I've been doing music since. I've been writing since 2003.
Mhm.
Been in the studios. That's 9. I was 9 years old. Been in the studio since I was 13. I've been making beats since I was 18, 19. And with all that, and like, so I'm 27. I've been doing basically music for damn near my whole life, but my run really began in 2018.
Mhm.
Courtesy of my friend, I had a friend of mine, DW. He was producing for me during my rap days. When he found out I was doing production and engineering, he gave me my first client. Shout out to my boy Ford Blue Jay. Once I engineered his first project, everything just started from there, and slowly, like, and I did my wrongs, and I branded myself wrong first. I'm not afraid to admit
Mhm.
that. I feel like a lot of producers, I'm gonna say it like this: a lot of producers, I'm not afraid to, I'm not afraid to say what producers are. I'm not afraid to say what producers are afraid to say.
Mhm.
I'm not scared to say that during that run, I branded wrong. I DM people wrong. I communicated with people wrong. I like I went through the mistakes. I went through all the wrongs. I knew
Yeah.
like going through thousands of DMs and spam and like trust me, producers like don't be scared to know that you're wrong because
Mhm.
a lot of us we be stuck in our heads. We be thinking that that's the right way, and then when I switched up my whole game and really started getting back into the roots that I wanted to do and really started caring for the culture the way that I know that I wanted to by authenticity,
Mhm.
everything just turned and still is turning. Working with, industry engineers, working with, great up and coming artists
Mhm.
especially coming from down south. Definitely shout out to down south. I got a lot of great people down south. My artist is signed in Illinois. I got great people in Dallas out there. That's, you know, it's crazy. But I would like to tell producers that I went through it just like everybody else
Mhm.
before before, during, and in my process of the internet.
Yeah.
Because I was engineering since, I guess I'm going to say 13.
Mhm.
I'm going to say I've been engineering since 13. So I've had my share and I've had my advantages, but trust me, the one thing I will tell producers, artists, anybody out there, like just the illusion of fear. Don't let shit get to you. If you love
Mhm.
what you're doing, just do it. Because if it's one thing that Ty Bumpin, I interviewed Ty Bumpin. Um, he's on the come up. He got placements with Cowboy right now, and he said it on my podcast. He said if you feel like this is what's going to make you, not just financially free, but just happy, just do it.
Mhm.
And that's probably one of the biggest gems that I've taken. Like whatever I do, whether it's podcasting, whether it's making a beat. I may not make a beat every day, but every time I make a beat, I'm always satisfied with everything I do. Whatever
Yeah.
I do, every move I make, like I said, like sometimes producers, even if you lose that consistency, don't be. I'm gonna give you another gem, cause trust me, it's consistency is a standard. It is. I will lay that factor out because it's too many factors that I've interviewed to say it is a standard, but sometimes we crash, we lose ourselves, we tend to we tend to get stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Don't look at that setback as a bad thing, because my setbacks became my greatest comeback, because that's where I'm at now. My setbacks, and even though I'm still catching up to, getting back to certain people, getting work back to certain people, my setbacks and life experiences that I went through, things still worked out in the long run.
Yeah.
And people tend to give up, like they think that consistency, like once they start not being consistent, that everything falls. No, just ask yourself, what am I going to do when I get back?
Mm-hmm.
How am I going to get back? And when you do get yourself back, just know that you do it the way you want to do it, and that you love what you do.
Yeah.
So it's just so much, like in and out of life, in and out the studio, in and out the podcast, in and off beats. Like, one thing I can say about me is that anybody that's going through life, I understand, because it's more than just being a producer. It's more than just being an artist. People live life. People go through
Mm-hmm.
things, and I've had my share. I've had my losses that, trust me, I wish I didn't have to have. But at
Mm-hmm.
the same time, at the end of the day, when it all comes down to it, once you get back in that zone, just remember what you were here for, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why I always tell myself, like, I always remember that I'm here for the culture, that I'm here for the people, and as long as the culture doesn't sleep, I won't sleep.
Mm-hmm.
That's all, like, that's really all I can say.
That's tough. That's real.
I know a lot of producers tend to have, like, good, like producer gems and all that. I more so have life gems. Like,
Mm-hmm.
everything is mindset. Everything is just breaking barriers for
Mm-hmm.
me. And I'm gonna tell people, like, straight up, like, breaking those barriers is easier than you may think it's hard. It's way easier than you think it is. Once you get
Yeah.
that illusion of fear out of your mind, that most of that shit that you think is out there don't exist, you're gonna break barriers like never before, and you're gonna break them so much that you're gonna forget that you're breaking barriers. That's how much you get in tune with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that I learned with each day, like getting back into myself. Like, every move I make is like, wow, like, I'm being me. I'm being the person that I wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
It may have not happened how I wanted to happen, but trust me, the last hint that I will give the people, my long term of watching others go beyond certain, barriers that we want to get to, when they say it comes as fast as it goes, that's the realest fact I'm going to give the producers. Trust me, if you're going through it, if you done spent your, like, I'm going to say it like this, I believe it's more than 10,000 hours. I really don't believe in that 10,000 hours factor. I believe just stay you, stay consistent. Because if you stay you and stay consistent, you're going to break 10,000 hours. So I really don't
Mm-hmm.
believe in it. When you say 10,000 hours, I believe you're eliminating somebody. So that whole 10,000 hours of work, yes, I believe that you got to put your time in, but don't say 10,000 hours. That's
Yeah.
just, don't limit somebody. I respect the terminology, but don't limit, like, 10,000 hours. Come on, I want to go a million hours. I want to go a
Mm-hmm.
billion hours. Like, I'm trying to, like, just, that's why I always tell people, like, don't, just be you and just go at it.
Mm-hmm.
Just be you and go at it, no matter how long it takes. Because trust me, if it comes to you fast, it's gonna go fast.
Mm-hmm.
If it comes to you fast, that, trust me, it wasn't meant for you to have that long.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the more L's you take, the more wins you're gonna learn how to take when you finally get there.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the, like, if I say one thing, And I think my homies that I was around during my teen years, you know, if we didn't turn down those deals, we'd probably be in a bad place right now. I definitely enjoy my independence,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm glad I turned down the deals that I turned down because I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I say honestly, like if artists or even producers, if you want to sign a pub deal, just make sure that your paperwork is straight. Make sure that their paperwork is straight, because there is one offer that I did have that I would have took. That I'll say it like this: the contract wasn't bad, the longevity wasn't bad. I still own my masters, so the contract wasn't bad. It's just that I wasn't in that set place with myself to feel like, okay, I can really give y'all, you know,
Mm-hmm.
the product that you really want. And I didn't want to go below the expectation. So if I was where I was at now, I probably would have took that deal, but because I definitely would have exceeded their numbers. But
Yeah.
one thing I will say is like, and I've definitely learned this with interviews that I've watched from you and people that I've interviewed myself. You know, your brand is everything. So
Mm-hmm.
protect that by all means first before you even think about signing a contract or anything, and make sure that everything works in your longevity and favor, because if that shit comes to you fast, it's going to go fast. I'm just telling people right now.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it happen for people. I've seen people get with the people we want to get with, and it goes so fast.
Yeah. For sure. For sure.
But if there's one thing that I have to ask you is that, as a podcaster, this is just the one question I have to ask you. What made you want to start Underground Stars? That is just my question as a podcaster.
Let's see. There's I talked about this with All Truth. He's doing his own little thing going on, and he had me on for it. So shout out All Truth, and we talked about this on that. But I mean, to begin with, I was always like with my friends and everything, and like the typical teen friend group, full of guys are always like, "Yo, we should start a podcast," because we always say the funniest things all the time. So that always kind of popped along, and at some point during the whole quarantine thing, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna actually do this. I don't need anybody else to be a part of it. I'm gonna do it myself, but I'm gonna make it revolve around stuff that I like. And so it just found the perfect medium between having a platform and music, and I wanted to be able to connect people with people who like they really wouldn't expect to be connected with, and also give a platform to everybody else besides me. So that's why I decided to have a guest every episode from a different, so it wouldn't just only be me. And the name came super naturally because I was like, I want it to be within like the underground scene. And the name itself is it's kind of ironic in a way, because how can you be a star if you're still in the underground? But you can be a star really wherever you are. So I wanted to make it just kind of where it's relatable to everybody, but also have like kind of the hope of becoming the star that everybody wants to be at the same time.
It's funny, and I literally just had this conversation with young young Flux, who I just interviewed. There is one thing that I appreciate about all the podcasters out there, even
Mm-hmm.
the ones that I'm not watching, all the new podcasts out there. And it don't matter what the genres or topic is. Me growing up, me being the researcher that I was, as kids, because the internet was still building and the platforms were still building, interviews and like magazine articles were more so only into access of the mainstream, if I can really
Mm-hmm.
break this down properly. So what I was telling, and it's kind of like I said, the conversation I had with Trapped Out Danny, conversation I had with Flux, conversation I had with a couple of other people who asked me why I put them on my podcast. I don't care about major placements. I don't care
Mhm.
about if you're a star or not. I believe everybody has a story.
Mhm.
Even if we're even if we're interviewing these people in the prime of their story.
Mhm.
Even like, to be honest, like, and trust me, like, I'm pretty sure it's happened in a couple of interviews, with you, like with Young Flux, like he said, he's still trying to find himself.
Mhm.
And that's something that he was glad to express in the interview because, and as I told him, I said that's what people need to express. Thanks to these new platforms, we are now in a place to where people can tell their story before they even make it.
Mhm.
Which I'm not saying the mainstream didn't give that, but it's just that those resources were in the mainstream, and
Mhm.
that's just what it was. I mean, and they did get some of the underground as the new internet era came on. Before the magazines went digital, they started covering the underground as well. But
Mhm.
now I just feel like we're in a new era to where we don't even need the mainstream anymore to do this.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's the best way to say it for me.
Mhm.
And with each person I interview, like, and to be honest, like I said, I have a couple of great gems. I got Joe Latrick coming up for season 4. He did the guitars on Lamborghini Mirrors for Little Dirk,
Mhm.
amongst other stuff. I definitely got some great gems coming. I interviewed Future's cousin and Guap Tarantino's older brother Watizzle for season 3. That's coming towards the end. So I definitely have some great gems coming up, but like, even with Watizzle, with Future's cousin, like, it's still like he's still building himself and making a name for himself. So even
Mhm.
though it is mainstream affiliation, I'm still keeping the terms within the underground,
Yeah.
and that's the one thing that I always want to keep my podcast at. Even when it does go mainstream, when it goes mainstream, yes, let the mainstream guys come in, but until then, let my purpose still be for the culture
Mhm.
of the underground,
Mhm.
and that's, like, to be honest, the best outro that I can go with.
That's the perfect way to end it.
And because at the end of the day, whether it's my podcast or Underground Stars, you know, we here for the culture, and
Mhm.
that's just, I don't know. I can go Kanye mode about the culture, and it's no, it's my thing is this, like, yes, of course, and me and Flux, we had this conversation as well. Yes, of course, we all look for the financial freedom, but what is the purpose higher than that?
Mhm.
And I'm not saying that and I'm not saying that producers, you really need a high ass purpose, but just also stand for something more than just making money. Like, some producers do it for their families.
Mhm.
Some producers, they do it to take care of, like, a family member that's really in need, or like I said, there are producers out there. There are people out there, and like I said, that's why I truly uncover these stories, because there are people out there. Like I said, Google can't. They can't get these things.
Mhm.
They can't get purpose. There are
Yeah.
artists, there are creators out there, and we're gonna find them. We're gonna keep finding them. There are creators out there that have great purpose, and
Mhm.
for me, it's just like, I don't. I'm gonna say it like this: I don't have to be the greatest producer. I don't gotta have all the major placements. Like, it's crazy. Like, I had a conversation with my artists yesterday about, like, making money in
Mhm.
music, and how everybody is just so stuck on making millions. But I'll break people down a crazy factor right now that will probably, it will probably cause controversy. But I'm pretty sure some producers feel like this and they don't express it because they feel like the standards is that like, oh, we got to make millions. But I don't look at it like that. Like I said, I look at longevity. If you look at longevity, you're going to make a million in the long run because I told my artist, I said, I don't care if the whole label made millions. If I had my whole label making millions, fine.
Mhm.
I'm happy with that. Whatever. If I got y'all making millions, cool. But me, give me a good 80 to 100,000 a year, man. I'm happy. Like I don't really my expectations like I enjoy the person who I am as is.
Mhm.
I guess what I can say, I enjoy my character as is. I don't really crave for too much like luxury. Like I'm more of a retro nostalgic person. I mean, I guess I'll say like this: the only luxury I really probably have vices for is like accessories.
Mhm.
Not really like chains and all that. Like maybe accessories. Like I'd like trust me, I'll definitely have my vices for accessories, even if this is like a Supreme fire extinguisher. But like so like trust me, everybody got their vices and vanities. But
Yeah.
like at the end of the day, like man, a good 75 to 100K a year, I'd be happy.
Mhm.
I don't need millions a year to make me say that I am successful as a producer.
Mhm.
100K a year, I can, you know, always help my mom, always help my family, always help the people who I love that was there for me when I was nothing, and
Mhm.
still take care of myself, still take care of my needs, still live full time, and still let any other freelancing streams come the way they do.
Yeah.
Because as podcasting, you know, anchor streams is cool and all that, but I really don't do the podcast for the anchor streams. I really just do that I do that for the love and like I told my homie, I will make podcasting a living, but as of now, I want
Mhm.
to do it full time, but I just want to do it because that's what I live for.
Yeah.
But like I said, man, I'm definitely glad I was able to give people a different perspective of
Mhm.
things. Like
Yeah.
it's more than just beat sales. It's more than just bragging about your next snippet
Mhm.
or it's life. And
Yeah.
you know,
Everyone's success looks different.
yeah. And even the ones who show the good, just know that they live life too.
Mhm.
I don't care if every day they showing that they got a placement with another producer. They still have a life too.
Mhm.
And like I said, I'm still grateful for even with the conversation I had with going to November, I'm still grateful for the whole underground community. And I feel like as time goes, I think that the underground community will get better as a whole. I feel like the underground community will see that we don't need the mainstream at a certain point
Mhm.
because I guess like, and trust me, like may not the higher powers hear this, but may the truth be told, like I am a fond believer of the classic Black Wall Street theory, which how my grandfather taught me the Black Wall Street theory. Now, see, this is I'm gonna give the beginning and then I'll give the evolution. In the original Black Wall Street, foundation, it was really just a factor of African Americans just really just investing into their own community, no matter what kind of businesses we had, whether it was construction. Basically, it was us investing into our own,
Mhm.
such as the Harlem Renaissance, where we were all together as one. Black Wall Street, politics consists to where we were an economy ourselves, not really by government. We were an
Mhm.
economy ourselves. And the evolution that I see in today's era of diversity, and especially in the internet era that we're in. And this is what makes me so impressed and so proud of the underground community, because even with some of the petty little Twitter beefs and all the the BS that comes with
Yeah.
everything, even with it, I will give this. I like to foresee things. I like to see things 10 steps ahead of like things. So when I see the underground community, I tell myself, let us come together as one. We won't need the mainstream. We will come together. We will invest in ourselves. We will invest in each other. And we will give back to each other, and just let us as the underground be an economy.
Mm-hmm.
I do, like, literally, I do see this, like, and going to November has said it himself in my interview. Even he said, like, 10, 15 years from now, the top people of the mainstream going independent.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we really got into that theory. If anybody want to go, listen to that. But we really got into that theory crazy. And I definitely believe, like, 10, 15 years from now, the mainstream will only exist by the machine. The mainstream will only exist by the machine. I can't really describe that much because, I've listened to other podcasts that, talk about it better. But, the mainstream will only exist as the machine. Because at a certain point, it's not going to be needed as a
Yeah.
community whole. The underground, I am going to give this last message before I leave. Let us respect our brands at a standard level, and when it's time to give, we give. When it's time to invest in ourselves and in each other, let us do that too. Because it's a spectrum, and a lot of people, they talk on one side where we should be doing this for the culture, and other people believe we should be making money off this. I am a fine believer of both.
Mm-hmm.
So I say, artists and producers, let's start putting our petty beefs aside, and let's try to find a spectrum in between both, to where we can help each other and still invest in each other at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put all that aside. Let's all come together as an underground community, whether you're a producer or artist, a cameraman, a visualizer, a graphics designer. It doesn't matter what you do, a podcaster, whatever. It doesn't matter what you do. Let us all come together as one underground community, and let's show the mainstream what we are really made of.
Mm-hmm.
That we really don't need them. And trust me, y'all gotta remember, the mainstream wasn't always the mainstream. Let's rewrite history and repeat it.
Damn. That's the perfect closer right there.
That's it. That's all I can say. I had to go Kanye on that last. I had to. Man, thank you, man, for this interview, man. I
Yes,
appreciate
sir.
this very
Thank
much.
you for coming.
Man, for sure, man. Like, shit like this, man. Like I said, I'm here for the culture, man. That's all I'm here for. So just know that, be yourself and stand for something.
Mm.
That's all I can tell people.
Yes,
'Cause,
sir.
bro, that's definitely how you got here, bro. That's definitely how you got here. That's how I'm gonna tell every producer.
Mhm.
Be yourself. Stand for something. Simple as that. When you can do those two things, you will strive. Be
Yes, sir.
yourself and stand for something. And thank you, bro. Shout out to
Mhm.
Underground Stars podcast, man.
Shout out, let me rap with you, bro. I'm gonna be sending over season 3 sticker over to you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Appreciate that, bro. And I will definitely be catching you on the flip side, bro.
Yes, sir. So thank you everybody for watching, listening. Make sure to go check out 215 on everything. Twitter. You on YouTube?
Yep, 215 God Beats on YouTube. But I say it like this, the podcast is really taking over me now, so might as well just check out the podcast.
Exactly.
Honestly.
Go check out. Let me rap with you. On it's on everything, right?
Yep, all platforms and YouTube. We will be having we will be having new visuals up in the next week, and we'll be having bonus 420 visuals up next week as well. So
Yes, sir. So make sure I'll go check them out. Check out Brand Everything. Let me rap with you. Merch. Everything's gonna be linked description below.
thank you.
Yes, sir. And we'll catch y'all next week.
Catch you.